And welcome to today's live IELTS class. I'm streaming to you from the heart of Europe, beautiful Budapest. I hope everybody has had a great weekend so far. Today we are looking at speaking section part 3, the challenging conversation style detailed questions. Hi Paranjay, good to see you in this class. Also Pachu, good to see you. As always, happy Singh. Smile to my face. Hi, Adrienne. Hi, Carolina. Students, these materials, this lesson is brought to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS preparation. Check us out there. And GIELTShelp.com. That's General IELTS Help.com. If you're getting ready for the general version of the test. Hi, Pavan. Hi, Zainab. Good to see many members in this class also. Students, our academic website looks like this. Try it for free. Click the green button or get the premium package. Click the big red button there. For the general version, same idea. Try it for free. Click that green button or click the big red button to join the premium package. Get our app, Academic IELTS Help. Look for our shield. Download our app from the Android or iOS store for the academic version. Link the app to your web account for the most advanced online learning for IELTS today. If you have questions, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. Is it Diwali today in India? That's great. It's the Festival of Colors, if I'm not mistaken. You might have to educate me on Indian culture a little bit more. You can get our books from Amazon. Search for AE Helps Academic IELTS and GE Helps General IELTS. Festival of Lights. Okay, it's the Festival of Lights. I'll do a little bit of research and find out more about it. Diwali. I know it's a big, big celebration. Students, this is the final class for this week. Tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. No class. Back on Wednesday with speaking part 1. So definitely make sure to tune in. All chat classes start at 15 o'clock Central European time. Okay. So, part 3 speaking. Part 3 speaking, it's conversation style. There's follow-up questions. You have to answer the questions specifically and with detail. You get past speaking part 2, which is the cue card. And then the examiner will say, your 2 minutes is up. Here, I'll stop you there. I'll take back the card. I'll take back the note paper, the pencil, and now we will continue with part 3. For part 3, we will continue with some questions related to the topic of part 2. Let's talk about adversity. Okay. What is adversity? What word comes to mind, students, when you see this word? Adversity. What are the words that pop into your mind right away? And this is speaking, so make sure that you're saying what you read and what you hear aloud. So speak during this class. Use your loud voice with confidence. Vanessa says, adversity are hard situations. Yeah, sure. Anisha says problems. And there's a good word from Puranjay. Puranjay says it's hardships. Hardships. Very good. Hardships. Tough conditions, difficulties, challenges. Those are all good words. Tough situations. Challenges. Okay, so when The examiner introduces the topic of part 3. They say, let's talk about adversity. You should think about as many of these synonyms or words as possible so you can use them for your answers in the questions. Remember that the next 4 or 5 questions the examiner will ask you will all be connected in some way to adversity. So you're likely going to use these words in your answers: hard situations, tough situations, problems, hardships, challenges, difficulties. Carolina says obstacles. Yeah, obstacles is definitely a good word, Carolina. So remember this, students. When you are introduced the topic, okay, in part 3, search your memory banks for as many synonyms as possible for the topic word. Okay? Use these in your answers to increase your lexical resource scores. All right, that's my tip 1 for today. Okay, so think about those words: tough situations, challenges, problems. Obstacles is a great word. I hope that as I'm saying these words, you're speaking and repeating what you hear. Repetition is useful when you're improving your speaking skills, especially when you're listening to native speakers, movies, podcasts, to get that intonation, that pronunciation right. Fix the words in your mind. All right. So let's warm up our speaking muscles with some questions. Here we go. First question. Do you think some people cope with difficult situations better than others? Give me a nice full sentence answer. Give me a nice full sentence answer to this question. Do you think some people cope with difficult situations better than others? Carolina says definitely each individual is unique. Consequently, they have diverse responses to obstacles. Like I hold back my tears during my grandmother's funeral, but my sister cried aloud during the whole time. That's a very sad example, Carolina, but it is a good example, okay, and it's smooth flowing. Happy Singh says, nope, just a moment. I'm not sure why the camera decided to snooze, but I'll get you back in just a moment. My camera there seems to be a ghost in my camera. Very rarely it decides to take a snooze. Maybe it's had enough of IELTS for the day. I don't know. All right, anyway, back we are. Okay, Chabi says, yes, definitely. Individuals are not equal in emotional intelligence or in experience, which are the two main factors to differentiate between problem-solving skills. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Chabi, that's a good answer. Sudanshu says, well, it depends from person to person. If a person has the confidence to solve difficult situations, then he can, for instance, do it. For me, it was difficult to learn English, but I put in all my effort and managed to come out on top. Okay, Mr. Beck, thank you for complimenting my daughter in her baby months. Vanessa says, absolutely, depending on the emotional factor, people can handle their problems differently. In fact, I have a sister-in-law who has great difficulty facing situations, even the simplest ones. Vanessa, really nice answer. Juan Pablo, thank you for the pictorial representation of the ghost in the machine in the camera. All right, here we go. I'll give you an answer as well. I think there were some very clever answers so far. Yes, people are unique, both intellectually as well as with their past experiences. So, Chabi, satisfying times, very good answer. I'm using what you wrote. So, yes, people are unique both intellectually as well as with their past experiences, which are the two key factors in the way they face challenges in life. My father had a very difficult childhood, so I can even say, and he's a brilliant man. So there are virtually no obstacles that he cannot overcome. Okay. All right. Obstacles. All right. Here we go. So repeat after me. Do you think some people cope with difficult situations better than others? Yes, people are unique both intellectually as well as with their past experiences, which are the two key factors in the way they face challenges in life. My father had a very difficult childhood and he's a brilliant man, so there are virtually no obstacles that he cannot overcome. Okay, this is a band 9 response. Why? So what does this answer have which makes it a band 9 response? And I'm asking this because I think some of our regular students will identify the elements in this answer that make it band 9. So what makes this answer band 9 in this case? Okay, while you're writing that, I'll read a couple more examples. Barendra says, being human, every person has to face many different problems in their lives. It depends on the situation, as I'm not a speaker of English language, but still I'm trying to face many challenges associated with it. Very good, Barendra. Zainab says, yes, I believe some individuals manage to cope with hard situations better than others because they have positive thinking and various kinds of intelligence. Good. Yeah, so good. So Shang Hung says, first of all, this answer gives an answer, yes. It gives an explanation, so tells the listener that it depends on intellectual and experiential past or ability. And it also gives an example. So it answers, explains, and gives an example. Okay? So tip 2, to get a good band score, you have to think answer, explain, example. That's the 3 most important words to keep in mind to get those high band scores. And you're right, Shang Hung. That's absolutely the first and foremost reason for that being a band 9 answer. Beyond that, Carolina says it uses complex grammar. Absolutely. The complex grammar it uses is some correlative, so both as well as instead of and. Okay, so both as well as is making a correlative conjunction. And notice this here, the which. Okay, which is an adjective clause, of course, or it's leading into an adjective clause. And this adjective clause is descriptive, so that's another reason that this will get a high band score. Okay. The example is smooth flowing. Notice how I don't say like or for example or for instance. I just simply state it. My father had a very difficult childhood and he's a brilliant man, so there are virtually no obstacles that he cannot overcome. Okay? Uses natural expression, obstacles that he cannot overcome. That's very natural. This is the type of phrase a native speaker would use in this context, to overcome obstacles. Okay, remember that collocation, overcome obstacles. Again, students, speak and repeat. Overcome obstacles. Okay, so answer, explain, example. Use complex sentences. Use adjective clauses. Use quick, smooth, integrated examples. Okay? So all of those elements together will help you to get those high band scores. And of course, whenever possible, use natural language, which may be, for example, collocations. Okay? Okay, so the next question, it's kind of a follow-up. So again, this is conversation style. Okay? Next question is, what personal attributes make a person cope better with such problems? So what kinds of attributes make a person cope better or help a person cope better with these kinds of problems? Okay. Pachu says, if a person has inner strength, willingness to ask for help, and a social support network, they are able to cope better with problems. Pachu, the word that you're looking for is social support network. Okay? Social support network. That's when you have people around you, friends, family, that can help you. Good. Awaz Aksmadov says, I believe that people who are responsible, calm, and patient can cope with situations because they do not panic, and fear and panic are enemy number one. Yeah, I agree, Awaz. Awaz, be careful that you don't get into redundancy. So calm and patient are kind of the same. To be patient, to be calm, not quite, you're right, a little bit different, but they're slightly. And then when you say they do not panic, it's circular reasoning. So the person is calm because they do not panic. Because they do not panic, they are calm. They are calm because they do not panic. You see what I'm doing? It's called circular reasoning, and you want to avoid that in communication, this kind of circular reasoning. Instead, it's better to just go into a situation. So what you could say, for instance, is an example with boxing, Awaz. So I believe that people who are responsible, calm, and patient cope better with situations. Professional boxers have to maintain their cool in order to win in most cases. Okay? Pavan says, well, if one could have patience and tolerance, they can overcome hardships more easily. Okay, Pavan, couple of corrections there. Watch the parallel grammar of words, Pavan. Patience and tolerance, not and can tolerate, and have tolerance. They can overcome hardships by tackling obstacles more effectively. Okay. Amarwadi says, actually, it depends on the past experience of the individual. As I said, that my father had a hard childhood. So it makes one tough and be able to face challenges and hard times in future life. Okay, in future life. Good. Zaid says, the experience and critical thinking are big parts that can lead a person to face obstacles and come up with effective solutions. Good. Okay. I changed it a little bit. It's not bad, Zaid. Just a little bit of tuning on it. Nim Ho says, in my mind, positive thinking, confidence, and patience allow a person to cope better with their issues. They might have faced difficulties, but they are able to overcome them with such attributes. Okay, Nimho, a couple of corrections there. Pay attention, especially Nimho, the first two phrases. A lot of students do that. It's repetition. In my mind, I think that. It's the same, one or the other. I think that positive thinking, or in my mind, positive thinking. Don't repeat yourself, okay? All right. Kyber, thanks for asking. I'm feeling better today. I was getting over a bit of a bad cold there before, so. All right. I believe that mental fortitude, okay? There's a nice collocation for you. Mental fortitude. Mental fortitude in English means the strength of your mind. Okay, I believe that mental fortitude, wisdom, and focus are essential in tackling problems effectively and coming out on top. As was the case with my father when he had to rebuild his business. He stayed focused, worked hard, and in the end, built a multi-million-dollar company from ashes. Okay. All right. Just kind of visualizing there. There we go. Repeat after me. What personal attributes make a person cope better with such problems? Repeat. I believe that mental fortitude, wisdom, and focus are essential in tackling problems effectively and coming out on top, as was the case with my father when he had to rebuild his business. He stayed focused, worked hard, and in the end built a multi-million-dollar company from ashes. All right. Again, that's a band 9 response. What am I doing there? What's different here than in my last one? So what other skills am I showing the examiner with this response beyond the previous? So this one has some expressions, collocations, complex sentences, also has answer, explanation, example, definitely rich vocabulary, Vanessa. Good. There you go. Marasa says, I'm connecting it with my previous answer. So very good. Another tip. Create connections. Very good, Marasa. Among your answers to increase coherence and cohesion scores. Okay, good. Definitely vocabulary. What else? What part of vocabulary, Vanessa, appears in this answer that wasn't there before? So why else would that be a band 9 level response? Because that's what we're doing in this class. Definitely, Vanessa, it's natural language. That was present in the last one as well. Pavan says I'm using a metaphor. Yes, that's right. I am using a metaphor. So built a multi-million-dollar company from ashes. That's true. So there is a bit of a metaphor in there. Yeah, but beyond that, so there's metaphor in there, but beyond that, even more importantly, is quantitative language. Okay, so I didn't say a great company, but I actually said a multi-million-dollar company. Okay, multi-million-dollar company. So I focused on making sure that I have some quantitative language in my answer as well. Okay, all right. Next question. Very good job. By the way, students, so far you're doing fantastic. Excellent. And you're recognizing what's working. You're using a lot of these skills. So excellent. Okay, good job so far. Here we go. Let's keep going. Again, remember, speak and repeat. This is a speaking class. So typing's great. Speaking and typing is even better. What do you think is the single most important point to keep in mind when facing a difficult situation? And I think some of you gave a good answer for this already. Okay, let's see what you come up with. All right. So Chabi, Satisfying Time, says, well, it should be that the knowledge that every chaotic situation has a way out. So there's a solution to any problem. With hard work, positive thinking, and positive thinking, even the impossible may become possible. Man has landed on the moon as a result of this. Nimatula, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that your writing did not turn out as well as it could have. But speaking, you got 7. That's fantastic. Good job on that, Nimatula. Thanks for sharing your scores. Send me an email about your writing and let's chat about it. Maybe I can help you out, okay? I'll give you some suggestions. All right, Motaz Al-Najjar says, the most significant point to keep in mind when facing any trouble is to be sure that every issue has a solution. The greater the problem, the more patient a person needs to be. Okay, good. Let's see, what else do we have? NA says the single most important concept is to stay optimistic and hope for the very best when facing an adverse situation. Yeah. That's why there's a saying that hope is the last to die. It's true. Hope is the last to die. Sudanshu says a person needs to be patient when facing difficult situations because this works in most contexts. During my secondary exam, I was not able to prepare myself, but I gave my exam with patience and they turned out all right. Okay, good example. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Yeah, Nimatula, that's great. So it's an accurate estimate of your speaking. Usually we're 95% of the time accurate with our estimations on speaking and writing. We've seen a lot of work from students over the years. Shang Hung says, the most significant point for me is to never give up. The sun will rise tomorrow and I will find the solution because I passed the IELTS exam eventually 8 months later. Okay, very good. Sure, use the exam as your example. Why not? Okay. The single most important notion. Oh, let's use a word that's different from important. The single most critical notion to consider. Keep in mind is an expression which means consider, okay? If you hear of an expression or a phrasal verb and you can replace it for the exact word, that's great, or vice versa. If you hear the exact word, you can replace it and paraphrase with an expression, okay? So the single most critical notion to consider whenever faced with adversity is to stay calm. Put another way, panic is the worst enemy in any dire situation. When people panic, they lose. Conversely, when they stay calm, they often find solutions. Okay? So, here we go. The single most critical notion to consider whenever faced with adversity is to stay calm. Put another way, panic is the worst enemy in any dire situation. When people panic, they lose. Conversely, when they stay calm, they often find solutions. All right. Now, if I want to keep pushing, I can come up with an example, but students, you don't have to give an example for every single question. That can be kind of weird. Sometimes students say, oh, how many examples should I give? Okay. Roughly 50 to 60% of the questions you should try to slip an example for. Okay. So here's my next tip. Give smooth examples for roughly 50 to 60% of the task 1 and 3, or sorry, task 1, part 1 and 3 questions. You should always give examples in your part 2. Okay? Part 2 always has some kind of situation that you should be using an example for. Okay? So roughly 50 to 60%. And just try to catch the questions that you're like, oh, okay, obviously an example would help in that case. Okay? Don't force the example. So don't try to give an example for every question. Don't force it. But for about one of every 2 questions. Okay? I'm glad, Vanessa, that we have a telepathic connection and I was able to answer your question before you asked it. Awesome. Okay, so one more time, repeat after me. The single most critical notion to consider whenever faced with adversity is to stay calm. Put another way, panic is the worst enemy in any dire situation. Dire means challenging or difficult. It's a nice adjective for those words. When people panic, they lose. Conversely, when they stay calm, they often find solutions. There's something interesting that I'm doing in this answer, which is a nice high-level type of communication. It's flip-flopping, okay? So I go black, white, so one side, other side, one side, other side. So it's this pro-con. It's this inverse verse, right? So the single most critical notion to consider when faced with adversity is to stay calm. And then I use this expression to flip to the opposite to make it more clear, put another way, panic is the worst enemy. Okay? And here I follow this one. When people panic, they lose. Look at this, students. It's very short. Okay? And people are like, oh, that's a simple sentence. But it's not. Okay? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. And this 5-word little mini sentence here is a complex sentence. Okay? Why is it a complex sentence? Because it has a conditional dependent clause and an independent clause. So you don't have to say a lot of words to create a complex sentence. Okay? And then conversely, so I'm flipping back to the other side. When they stay calm, they often find solutions. Okay? On one side, on the other side. That's right, Pachu. Hope that's clear. So that's a clever kind of strategy. Practice it. Work to incorporate that into your speaking. Okay? Always practice and study to add more and more tools into your toolbox of communication, okay? So that you can be more colorful, so that you can be more broad-ranged when you are explaining your ideas. That will make you into a powerful communicator. All right. So, why is this notion key to solving a difficult situation? Here is where I might think, okay, I can get an example in this case. So, why is this notion key to solving a difficult situation? Give me some answers, students. So, why would staying calm and not panicking be key to solving a difficult situation? Vanessa is asking, what if the examiner asks 2 questions at once, which they shouldn't? Okay, sometimes they do. And you forget the second question? Yeah, you can say, sorry, could you remind me of the second question that you asked me? So yeah, Vanessa, you can say that. Okay, so you could say, if the examiner asks you 2 questions at the same time and you forget what the second question was, you can say, my apologies, but could you remind me of your second question? Sure, you can ask that. Okay, or of your follow-up question, because it's usually that, what they're asking you. Okay. So Mataz on the jar says, as far as I can say, because wisdom and patience gives better outcomes. And on the negative side, rushing and being hyper results in drawbacks. Okay. Motaz, give me an example. What do you mean? Give me an example of where rushing has ended badly and being patient has ended well. Okay. So Aka Arman says, when people are calm, we can think of better solutions. Aka, that's very good. Okay, so absolutely, we can apply better critical thinking, right? Give me an example, AKA Arman. Sorry, I said Aka. AKA Arman. Arman, give me an example. What do you mean? Okay. Vanessa says, okay, thanks, because my memory is terrible. Vanessa, try to visualize the full question, the 2 questions together. Same thing, Marasa, okay? Pachu says, because being calm, people can think critically and logically and exert positive energy. Yeah, those are good answers, students. So yeah, that's definitely the clear answer, is when we're calm, we make rational, logical decisions based in critical thinking. This is absolutely where you would want to present an example, okay? And there's one that comes to mind right away when I'm visualizing. There's an example that immediately comes to mind and is like, okay, that's one of the most classic examples of not panicking, where people are like, don't panic, okay? There's actually a couple that come to mind. There's a couple classic examples, okay? Juan Pablo says, because getting nervous or anxious can make the situation even worse. It can also lead to making mistakes. Like what, Juan Pablo? Give me an example. Okay. I'm sure some of you will come up with one of these classic examples. Mr. Beck, don't use the word you. Okay, don't talk to your examiner. Say people or individuals, but don't say you. You're not talking about your examiner. Especially in this context, it's awkward. So because when people keep calm, they will probably concentrate and think carefully about their problem. For example, when people do not think of other ideas and focus on the task at hand, they will come up with better solutions. Okay. M. Hussein says, every cloud has a silver lining. That means every problem has a solution. No, it doesn't, Hussein. Every cloud has a silver lining means that every situation has some positive influence or effect. That's what every cloud has a silver lining means. It means that every situation has some positive aspect. So careful with idioms, M. Hussein. If you use them incorrectly, your score will go down. Okay? It means that difficult situations or negative situations still have some sort of a positive side. That's what every cloud has a silver lining means. Careful, careful, students, with misusing idioms. Okay? Shanghung says, I believe having a positive mind is the key to cope with challenges. 6 years ago, I crashed my scooter and went to the hospital for 6 months, but I never gave up and finally fully recovered. Okay, Shanghung, that's not bad. Motaz says, for example, if people want to take the IELTS exam without a keen interest to study and revise, they will get an awful score. Yeah, it's true, often. Yeah, okay. Staying calm and focused in difficult contexts allows a person to think rationally and come up with workable solutions. Just like when people get lost in a forest, they need to keep their cool and remember to stay in one place and identify their direction rather than panic and run even deeper into the woods. Dun, dun, dun. Okay? That's definitely one of the classic examples that comes to my mind with staying calm and panicking is being lost in a forest or in the desert, right? The worst thing you can do is panic and start running and freaking out. So staying calm and focused, repeat, speak and repeat, right? Staying calm and focused in difficult contexts allows a person to think rationally and come up with workable solutions. Just like when people get lost in a forest, they need to keep their cool and remember to stay in one place and identify their direction rather than panic and run even deeper into the woods. Hopefully you have a watch or your smartphone. You know what time it is. You look at where the sun is and you can figure out where east, west, north, and south lie relative to your position, right? Okay, sun rises in the east, sets in the west. Figure out your direction, make some smart decisions. If somebody knows where you are, probably not a good idea to run around, especially if you're visiting my home area of the world in British Columbia. The forest is so big, there's no way you'll get out if you're lost and you panic, okay? So that's one. Visualize, students. Visualize your examples. Another one that comes to mind is what? What's one of the other very common situations that people get into where if they panic, they get into trouble. But if they stay calm, then they can find a solution. Okay, I think somebody wrote fire. Okay, so Perak Palmer says, for example, most people would use water to put out a fire in the kitchen. However, it may create more of a problem, especially if it's an oil fire. Instead, a damp cloth or salt, flour will work much, much better. Car accidents, definitely. Yeah, Carolina, Juan Pablo, car accidents, don't panic, of course. Another situation is falling into water, right? So oftentimes when people fall into water, if they panic, they swallow water, they start to suffocate, they drown. Kabi says when facing a bear, yeah, if you're in that part of the world, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Paranjay says, how about when you're stuck in quicksand? Panicking is going to make you sink faster. Marwa says, guys, exams. The IELTS exam is another one. All right, absolutely. Okay, one more question here. What are some common challenges that face people today which didn't exist in the past? Hint, when you have this kind of a question, it's a comparative, okay? So here you're comparing the past to the present. You should use present perfect. Okay? So when you have kind of a question, it's comparative. So remember your words for comparison. However, on the other hand, and you should be thinking of some present perfect because you're expressing change over time. Okay? Kaabi says, over the years, individuals face new challenges like inventing solutions to make life possible on other planets, such as Mars, or creating replacements for human organs made in factories to save people's lives. Those are called artificial organs. Pavan says, as far as I know, doctors and pharmacists are facing difficulties in treating medically resistant tuberculosis, which never existed before. As a result, the mortality of humans is being threatened. Okay, yeah. So antibacterial resistant bacteria, yeah. It's definitely a new challenge, Pavan, so it's interesting. Monal says, now we have to face heavy traffic in our daily routines in India, which was nowhere near as problematic in the past. AKA Arman says, these days people are challenged to find healthy foods as compared to the past when most food was nutritious. These days, genetically modified foods and other foods that have pesticides and preservatives create new dangers for consumers. Okay, Arman, I took your idea and colored it a little bit with some vocabulary and description. Okay. Zaid says, some obstacles that humanity has been facing are genetically modified foods, noise, air, soil, and water pollution, which were nowhere near as extensive in the past. AJ says, I think people nowadays face challenges related to technology, health, and the environment. In the past, these contexts of life were simpler, and people did not have to apply as much problem solving. Okay, good. Those are all great answers. Students, those are good. So whenever you have this type of question, Technology is definitely a good, quick answer because that's what's rapidly evolving through the past decades. So we can say the rapid advancement, but a lot of those answers, I mean, pollution, I think, was a good one as well. So the rapid advancement of technology has brought about novel challenges in everyday life that hadn't existed 30 years ago. Most individuals these days spend at least 2 to 3 hours troubleshooting some type of technical issue. Just yesterday, my computer froze, and it took me an hour and a half to debug it. All right. There we go. So, students, repeat after me. Here we go. The rapid advancement of technology has brought about novel challenges in everyday life that hadn't existed 30 years ago. One sentence, present perfect, past perfect, all in one go. Most individuals these days spend at least 2 to 3 hours troubleshooting some type of technical issue each week. Okay, quantitative language. Example, just yesterday my computer froze and it took me an hour and a half to debug it. Okay, all right. So again, answer, explain, example, complex sentence, high-level grammar, natural language, quantitative language. Yes, you can do it. It just takes practice, students. Just practice. Build your toolbox with these skills, okay? That's all the time I have for today and for this week. I will be back next week on Wednesday, October the 30th with part 1, speaking for everybody, of course, at 15 o'clock Central European Time. If you have questions, don't be shy. Adrian at aehelp.com. And be sure to check out our websites, aehelp.com for academic, IELTS, and GIELTS help.com for the general. Wellington, if you would like me to post this on the community board, I can certainly do that. I will put it up there. I think I got to post the task 1 from the other day as well still, so it's a good reminder. Thank you for that, Wellington. I'll do that. And again, for lots and lots of great materials, structured, effective study, join the premium package. Girls, guys, spend a couple dollars. Help us, help you, right? Much love to all of you. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. You have brilliant minds. And whenever you're faced with the challenge of learning English, stay calm, stay focused, and you will succeed. Bye for now.